Live from Washington, this is an urgent update. A shocking development has just emerged from the Senate, and what it reveals changes everything. Official documents obtained under oath, along with sealed records, indicate a series of actions that have never before been reported. Two internal memos released as evidence today show decision-making at the highest levels that contradicts public statements and raises serious questions about political oversight. What these documents reveal goes beyond partisan debate. It goes straight to the heart of accountability. Before we go further, subscribe right now, because what you're about to hear is not being explained clearly anywhere else. The first document, an internal memo dated November 12, 2025, comes directly from the office of a senior Senate aide. Let me read this word for word. Subject: urgent strategy, Trump correspondence. Timeline attached, immediate review required. References to unregistered meetings with foreign intermediaries are noted, but all names have been redacted for ongoing investigation. Read that again. The note continues. Ensure all flight logs are secured. Do not discuss outside authorized personnel. This is to remain sealed until further notice. Tucked inside that memo were three separate attachments, each with their own revelations. The first, a collection of what appears to be tens of thousands of text messages between campaign officials and unidentified intermediaries, contains repeated references to the package and midnight delivery. Not once, not twice, repeatedly. And while the names are blacked out, timestamps clearly indicate activity between 10:45 p.m. and 2:17 a.m. on multiple nights across a span of 6 weeks leading up to January 20th. But it gets worse. The second attachment is a set of flight logs, official records obtained under oath, showing trips taken by private aircraft. One plane, registered to a shell company, made at least 17 flights to multiple locations, including a private airstrip in West Virginia, a small airport in northern Florida, and a private facility outside Nashville. Passenger manifests show redacted names, but seating charts reveal high-ranking aides, as well as two individuals listed only as Consultant A and Consultant B. Each entry is stamped with a note, all documents stored in secure location per Senate counsel. Internal correspondence released as evidence this week shows the reaction from Senate staffers. One email dated December 5th, 2025 reads, "We are receiving increasing pressure to remove references to ongoing coordination. Leadership is aware, but all files must remain classified. Do not forward." Under oath, a staffer later testified that the language in the email implied direct coordination at levels previously undisclosed. Photos were also part of the leak. Official photos included as evidence, showing meetings in rooms that do not exist on any publicly available floor plans of Senate office buildings. The images depict individuals with faces partially obscured, but with identifiable insignia on their clothing, suggesting access to secure facilities. A contemporaneous note attached to one photo reads, "Meeting concluded. Do not document digitally. Hard copy only." And here's the part no one expected. A set of handwritten notes labeled Strategy Session Notes, December 18th, details a conversation that took place in the Capitol's sub-basement. One passage reads, "Coordinate narrative with media. Ensure story aligns with desired outcome. Avoid disclosure of any irregularities in travel or correspondence. Confirm understanding with all parties." What's alarming is the repeated emphasis on secrecy and the fact that these notes were signed by two aides under oath as having been present. Courtroom moments recently revealed from ongoing proceedings also show a prosecutor reading directly from sealed records. In one instance, the attorney says the documents demonstrate deliberate obfuscation. Flight logs, communications, and meeting records all point to intentional concealment. The intent is clear. We are presenting this to the court to establish pattern of conduct. Witness testimony adds even more layers. A former aide under oath described being instructed to destroy copies of certain emails immediately after reviewing them. "We were told not to leave any trace. Not in files, not in backups, just erase. I thought it was unusual at the time, but I followed orders," the aide stated. Redactions and missing facts are equally striking. Entire pages of the memos have been blacked out with the explanation, "Pending further review, name and details withheld." Analysts reviewing these records note that the sheer volume of omissions suggests information that could have substantial political and legal ramifications. The third attachment is perhaps the most consequential. It's a series of internal DOJ letters marked confidential for Senate eyes only, spanning from January 3rd to January 17th, 2026. One letter, dated January 10th, 2026, reads in part, "We have identified multiple instances where official protocol was circumvented. Documentation of communications with external actors shows coordinated messaging designed to mislead investigative bodies. Immediate compliance review recommended." Let me read that again. Coordinated messaging designed to mislead investigative bodies. Think about that. A particularly alarming section refers to an exchange of emails between what the letter identifies as senior official X and consultant Y. The emails, released as evidence under oath, describe steps to ensure certain reports never reach committee review. One message, timestamped 2:14 a.m. on January 12th, says, "All documents transferred to secure personal server. Only team leads will have access. No paper trail. Confirmed." Contemporaneous notes from a Senate council meeting reveal internal alarm. One line written by a clerk states, "This could expose us to serious legal jeopardy. Do we escalate, or is this being managed quietly?" The clerk later testified under oath that the tension in the room was palpable, a clear recognition that rules were being skirted at the highest levels. Not to be overlooked, there's also a photo archive released as evidence. Several images, time-stamped January 13th, 2026, show a private dining room in a nondescript Capitol building, with plates still on the table, documents scattered, and laptops open. Faces in the photos are intentionally blurred, but one note attached to the images reads, "Recording devices removed. Verify no external capture. All discussions confidential." Even the courtroom transcript captures the gravity of the situation. A prosecutor states, "We have documents, photographs, emails, and witness testimony, all pointing to a coordinated plan that bypassed oversight. The frequency and consistency of these actions leave no room for coincidence. This is systematic." So what does it all mean when you connect the dots, the memos, the emails, the flight logs, the photos, the notes, the redactions? A pattern emerges, a pattern of intentional concealment, a pattern of repeated coordination at levels that should be accountable to oversight committees. If this were anyone else, the documents alone would trigger multiple investigations. But because of who is involved, the political stakes are magnified. You have to ask why. Why the secrecy? Why the redactions? Why the urgency in every communication? It isn't about one document. It's about behavior, repeated, deliberate behavior. It's about choosing to operate outside standard procedure while relying on the assumption that no one will notice. And the moral stakes are clear. When those in positions of power bypass oversight, it undermines the very system designed to hold them accountable. Legally, it raises questions about obstruction, misuse of official resources, and failure to disclose critical information. Politically, it threatens to reshape alliances, influence upcoming legislative priorities, and erode public trust. Think about that. The implications don't stop at one office or one term. They ripple outward, affecting governance, transparency, and accountability at every level. In practical terms, this means there is now a trail. Documents, testimony, photos, logs that future investigators can follow. Even if parts of the record remain redacted, the pattern is undeniable. Official records show deliberate steps to bypass oversight. Internal correspondence, court filings, and sworn testimony collectively paint a picture that cannot be ignored. As we step back, consider the human dimension. People were instructed under oath to carry out tasks with full knowledge that they were unusual, if not outright irregular. Meetings were conducted in secret, instructions were given to erase records, and critical information was withheld. This isn't speculative. These are contemporaneous notes, official records, and sworn testimony. It is all documented. In summary, what has emerged from these documents and testimonies is a window into a coordinated, high-stakes operation where normal checks and balances were bypassed. The Senate, the Department of Justice, and private actors are all part of a puzzle whose pieces are now in the open. The moral framing is clear. Accountability matters. Secrecy has consequences. Transparency is not optional. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, share this, and stay alert. Don't let anyone tell you this doesn't matter, because it does.